Welcome to this new episode of the LFMA Spot and Forward series. My name is Nicoletta Centofanti, and I'm the CEO of the Luxembourg Sustainable Finance Initiative, or LSFI. In today's fast-evolving sustainable finance landscape, high-quality, sustainable data plays a vital role, helping investors make informed decisions, promoting transparency, and safeguarding market integrity by mitigating the risk of greenwashing. Within this context, sustainable bond data is especially important. As expectations from regulators and stakeholders continue to rise, reliable data is key to building trust and ensuring that sustainable bonds deliver real, measurable impact. This is precisely what the Luxembourg Stock Exchange set out to support with the launch of the LGX DataHub in 2020, a database marking its 5th anniversary this September. In this episode of the LFMA Spot and Forward series, Laetitia Hamon, Head of Operation and Sustainable Finance at the Luxembourg Stock Exchange, and Julien Fromut, Deputy Head of Business Unit, Strategic and Sustainability Office at Spurkes, discuss the evolution, value, and future potential of LGX DataHub in supporting a more transparent and trustworthy sustainable bond market. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and we hope you enjoy the interview.
Welcome to this new episode of the LFMA Spot and Forward series.
Hello, Julien. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now you're getting ready to celebrate 5 years of the LGX DataHub this month. So first of all, congratulations. Perhaps you could take us back to 2020 and tell us what really sparked the idea behind the launch.
Yes, it's hard to believe the DataHub is already 5 years old. You know, looking back at 2020, just a few years after the entry into force of the Paris Agreement and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and the famous action plan of the European Commission, sustainable finance was really taking off. So there was a growing demand for data on sustainable bonds to understand where these bonds were invested and the impact that they were having on the real economy. And thanks to our listing activities and the Luxembourg Green Exchange platform, we already had access to a significant pool of sustainable bond data. So we quickly realized that putting all this information in a centralized database would be very useful to the market, especially as this did not exist anywhere else. And that's why in September 2020, we took a bold step and we launched the LGX DataHub. The objective being really to help investors in their investment screening, investment decisions, and reporting.
Speaking of expansion, how did the database develop over the past 5 years?
It has really grown across all fronts, both in terms of the type of instruments included, but also the number of bonds in the database. Earlier this year, in May, if I recall, we reached 20,000 bonds, which is pretty remarkable, especially considering we started with around 800 only a few years ago. And this expansion has been driven by the markets, by the growing number of sustainable bonds being issued worldwide, notably with this peak in 2021 and 2022, and by the increasing importance of sustainable finance globally, which is obviously for us very encouraging to see. So if we look at today, the DataHub includes a wide range of instruments. So we have green bonds, social bonds, sustainability bonds, and also sustainability-linked bonds, or SLBs, as we call them. And these ones are particularly interesting, as they are not user proceeds bonds like the others, but rather ones where the interest rate is linked to the issuer's achievement of specific targets. And in that case, we make this type of data available in the DataHub too. So I mentioned the range of instruments, but we also include more features. As an example, at the end of last year, we introduced several new and important features, things like more granular EU taxonomy data, more complete impact data, and enhanced information on SLBs. And then more recently, we also added a new flag to identify gender-focused bonds in the database, following a partnerships that we had with UN Women. So basically, with the DataHub, we have a very agile approach that enables us to follow the market trends, answer user needs, align with the regulatory developments, and even be one step ahead with innovative tags and features. So the idea really, on top of having a wonderful interface that is super user-friendly, is also to provide users with the data that they need to make confident, informed decisions.
You mentioned users. Who are the primary users of the LGX DataHub, and why do they use it?
We have a very wide range of users, but the main ones are asset managers and investors, including pension funds. They use the DataHub to screen potential investments, monitor portfolios, and report on their green bond funds, for example. And reporting is really a more and more important need, as you know, and with the DataHub, asset managers can report on things like portfolio allocation, the environmental and social impact of the projects being financed by the bonds, but also the bonds' contribution to the Sustainable Development Goals or its alignments to the EU taxonomy. And post-issuance data is a very distinctive feature of the DataHub. As you know, Julien, the main objective of investors in these bonds is to understand where the money goes, and that's why having access to impact metrics is absolutely crucial. Now, I was mentioning asset managers as users, but it's not just them. We have, for example, international organizations like the European Commission and the OECD that also use the DataHub for market insights and trend analysis. Also, banks and financial institutions rely on it to prepare their EU taxonomy reports and calculate their green asset ratios, or GAR. And then you've got also educational institutions, research centers who use it to publish papers and make research. So basically, as the scope of sustainable finance continues to grow, we are seeing more and more organizations from different sectors turning to the DataHub, each for their own reasons, of course, but all looking for trustworthy, structured, and very unique sustainability data.
And how do you use the data available in the LGX DataHub? Do you use it anyway, and how do you use it?
Yes, of course. I use it and my colleagues too. In fact, we use it quite extensively and for a variety of purposes. For example, we use it in our own reports when we produce market intelligence and research insights. Earlier this year, for example, we have published a study on SLBs based on the data available in the DataHub, and also a general market overview of 2024. Also based on the DataHub. On top of that, we use it for our LGX Academy, you know, our education arm on sustainable finance. And in that case, we use the DataHub to provide case studies very specifically that we incorporate to our courses to show concrete examples and also ultimately to inspire issuers to issue sustainable bonds by better understanding how it works. Oh, and our data is also used to feed into other major databases, for example, the International Capital Market Association Sustainable Bond Database, which is publicly available on their website. In fact, all of the data in the ICMA database is pulled directly from the LGX DataHub.
Right. Indeed, it's quite clear this data is being used in many different ways. Now, we have time for one more question. So what are the upcoming developments planned for the LGX DataHub?
Well, you know, we always have some developments in the pipeline. Last year, for instance, we significantly enhanced both our SLB and EU taxonomy data, because that's what the market needed, really. And we also improved the watchlist feature. So it's a feature allowing users to receive instant notifications about the bonds that they select. And that's very useful as well. And more recently, we added a new flag to indicate whether a bond complies with the Paris-aligned benchmark, so the PAB exclusions, and that's to be in line with the new regulatory requirements for asset managers. We are also working on automated portfolio reporting features. And last, we might soon include self-labeled transition bonds in the database as well, because that's a new trend that we see. So that's in a nutshell what we do. And I think the key point is really that we strive to be data leaders in this field because we innovate and improve constantly, and we follow the sustainable bond market very closely. So that's good. But we should also take a moment to reflect on how far we've come. And, this month for our team, it's time to celebrate also the 5th anniversary of the LGX DataHub.
That sounds great. We look forward to seeing how it develops over the next few years. Thank you very much, Laetitia, and happy anniversary to the DataHub.
Thank you very much, Julien. It was a real pleasure to be on the LFMA Spot and Forward series.